Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in today and checking out episode 3 of Fitlosophy, coming at you presented by Better University here at All Access Fitness, the gym with the most in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. We have 2 guests on our panel today, Omar, Scotty, and of course we've got the ever lovely
Victoria, and I'm a dietitian.
And Danielle.
All right, so obviously you guys are not watching this live. This is a pre-recorded episode because some of us are on vacation this week. But considering what the topic of our episode is today, it's very relevant to what you may be doing this week within a day or two of actually watching this episode. So we like to celebrate, and we like to celebrate with food. This is something that's been going on pretty much since man was able to conquer and take over things. You know, that's...
This is America.
Yeah. America. We like to celebrate around food. And now being in the summertime, we're going to be encountering lots of barbecues and beer. And I mean, I enjoy those things, but I also like to be fit, I also like to be healthy, and I don't like to have my calorie bank constantly broken. So what we're going to be discussing today are some tips, tricks, strategies, and we're also going to get a little personal with some of the things that we've encountered in the past, difficulties that we've had, and ways we've found in which to circumnavigate those issues that gave us issue. So, Victoria, do you want to lead us off? Talk a little bit about some things about surviving the holidays?
Yeah, actually, so because it's probably around the July 4th right now, and we're starting to do a bunch of cookouts, I was reading up about this, and actually about desserts is some of people's biggest issues, I guess, and I was reading about grilled fruit, actually, and I didn't think of that. I thought like a regular fruit plate, but grilling it makes it like that much more like special for the cookout, so that's
Like pineapple, like what kinds of fruits?
yeah, probably just about anything. Pineapple sounds really
Pineapple,
good.
It's
like
very
apple?
interesting
Yeah.
that you bring that up.
Apple.
Probably strawberries.
Strawberry.
Yeah. Apple maybe. Yeah.
Mango?
Mango. Something that's like harder.
We gotta try this now.
Yeah,
So-
it's really good.
Get the
So.
antioxidants in it.
Yeah.
Now I have to bring up a grilled fruit that you probably shouldn't do. It's funny you bring that up. I read an article on this 2 or 3 weeks ago, and somebody said, the title of it was, "The One Barbecue Food You Should Be Having." It's grilled pineapple soaked in Jack Daniels.
Whoa.
So it sounds really tasty,
Yeah, you
but...
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was really cool that you brought that up.
Wait, you're
And
saying that you've tried this before?
no, I've never
Oh,
tried
I
this
see.
before. It's
Oh,
just
oh.
something that I
Personal
read.
Experience.
No.
Don't eat 19 of them.
Yes, exactly.
So grilled fruit. I'm definitely gonna have to try that out. And if any of you guys have tried that out, please leave a comment. We'd love to hear what your experiences are with grilled fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, when I heard about grilled pizza, that pretty much blew my mind. And now grilled fruit. Jeez.
I don't think mango can get any much better though. Like there's no way. It would just have to break this.
Yeah, but mango and salsa is really good.
Oh, mango salsa.
You know what I mean? Mango
And that's
salsa.
another thing about
Like a fruit
cookouts.
salsa.
That's a
Yeah.
healthy thing. That
A
you
fruit
can have at a
salsa.
cookout.
That's a great way too. You're getting no fat in there.
Yeah.
You know, great thing to think
Yeah.
about at a cookout. Depending on what you're aiming for, what you're avoiding. If you're trying to keep fat low or
Right.
sugars low or something like that,
Yeah.
get a little bit of sugar from the fruit there, but virtually no fat generally, and great way to go.
At least you're not getting that sugar from something else.
Exactly.
So I want to move into a little bit of some of the strategies of ways in which we can enjoy the barbecues, because let's be honest, if you're going to cut out all the foods and beer that you enjoy, what's the point of living? Like, really? If you're going to cut it all out, what is the
Wow,
point?
we
We're diving right in.
just dark.
So-
all there is.
This man's simple pleasure. We only live to consume. We're
Yeah,
just friggin' capitalists.
consumers.
And
Yeah.
maybe you guys can chime in on this one, but as fitness professionals, one of the things that we really like to tout and push is moderation. Moderation of everything, good, bad, everything. Because again, at the end of the day, you want to enjoy life, you want to enjoy your barbecues, you want to enjoy your beer, but you don't want to go so overboard that it becomes something negative towards your health, your fitness, and your goals. So, biggest tip, this is my favorite. I used to tell all my boot camp classes this before any big holiday. We're talking Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the barbecues that you hit up in the summer months. resistance training, heavy resistance training prior to some event that is centered around food is going to be a really good way to make sure that a lot of the calories you consume are utilized by your body rather than stored. So I want to get into the science just a little bit real quick, what's going there. Don't want to bog you guys down too much with complicated things.
Fun
but-
stuff.
So our muscle tissue, it holds glycogen, and that is the energy source that it uses for all of our contractions, everything that we're doing. When you do resistance training, you deplete those glycogen stores, and one of the first things your body wants to do post-workout is replenish and refill. So, ergo, resistance training before, holidays surrounded by food, more of those calories will be used to refill the glycogen stores in the muscles than if you hadn't resistance trained in the first place. That is not your golden ticket to go eat like a pig and consume all of the beer, because again, moderation, anything in excess is bad for you.
Interesting that you mentioned all the beer. There was actually a study a while ago surrounding beer as a post-workout glycogen replenishment source. It showed it to be
Really?
far more effective than almost any other. The
Really?
carbonation actually increases the uptake of the sugar slightly. The
No.
carbs in beer break down very quickly into
How long was
glucose.
that study for?
It was I forget exactly. It was a while ago that I read it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can try to pull it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we should.
interesting.
Look into it, but no,
Nice.
it was great. It was like a men's health thing or something.
Yeah.
But linked to a fairly good
Little
study.
protein shake, little
Little
beer.
beer,
Didn't
Sounds
some
good.
company release a product not too long ago that was like
Protein.
post-workout
Protein, yeah.
beer
There's also,
or like alcoholic beverage?
Oh my
isn't there like
goodness.
Fitvine or something? It's like a,
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
sure if it has protein, but
So-
I'm sure it's just a better
So actually,
option.
I know
Yeah.
about Fitvine because
Is that local?
somebody in our audience knows about Fitvine as well. So a friend of mine told me about this, and it has to do, please shout out if I'm incorrect, it has to do with the sulfates in the wine are actually removed from the Fitvine, so you don't get as much of a hangover the following
Oh, wow.
So it's essentially the same thing, but there's no
day. Yeah.
sulfates.
Some of the
You know,
bad
having
stuff
that
they kind of
shift in electrolyte levels and all that would
Yes.
come off
Yes.
otherwise.
Exactly.
Wow.
So if you do like your wine, and you're going to be drinking your wine at your barbecues and holiday parties, Fitvine.
I think I've seen it at
Use
Wegmans.
it for.
Is it expensive?
Probably. Yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive
Have
than
to
your
do more
average
processing,
wines.
yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, it sounds like generally we're pretty in support of that one. What do we think as far as the panel goes about that, like protein beer, or there was a protein vodka that like the
What?
Situation from Jersey Shore made a while back?
I gotta think
I think
he's
that's
endorsing it.
I'll hold my
Me
thoughts for a
too.
moment. What do we think?
I vote no,
You
nay.
got a nay?
I would say no, but it depends on your goal and what you're using it for, and like I feel like it depends. So like yes and no.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like the placebo effect, so if
Yeah.
I believe it's good for me, I think I'm gonna have to say yay.
But
But,
drink more vodka.
but on that note,
Success.
it's very interesting because there are some very conflicting things. Like I've read a lot of articles that involve describing what alcohol does as far as slowing down the system, your brain. So you got to think, well, all the benefit that I'm getting from this alcohol that's infused with good stuff for
Yeah,
me,
it's like
is it balancing it out? Is it tipping one way or the other?
Probably
Because it's still
not.
alcohol.
I don't know that it's gonna have much of a positive.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, I prefer alternative methods.
Have some chicken with your.
Or you just can keep them separate.
We can say chicken.
Yeah, just
Chicken
Just
beer
drink your
shakes.
protein drink and
Chicken
then-
beer shakes.
Yeah,
There you
yeah. To keep
Yeah,
it
they'll
Balance
separate
it
them
out,
out.
yeah.
So what about you, Omar? Are you on board with the athletic alcohol?
No, like I said, yeah, I prefer other things. I'm definitely a big advocate of cannabis. Like I use that for my post-workout recovery. And I think that over the years of kind of experimenting with it a little bit, moderation is definitely the key word there. It's easy to get carried away with that, especially, I mean, being, a youngster in a place where it's very prominent, it can get, a little, how should I say, like,
Overused and abused.
overused. Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a tool, and I mean, you really want to try to, use the minimum effective dose and really try to make sure that the way you're using it is kind of aligned with, the benefits of it.
Well, there's use and abuse.
Abuse.
Yeah.
Right. Simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the same thing with like alcohol. I mean, if you're gonna drink on the holidays, that's cool. Like, do you? But just don't go overboard. I mean, because there's really no. Like, who wants a terrible hangover the next day?
Oh, I love those things.
Right?
Are you kidding me? I live for that.
No.
That's why people drink, right? For the hangover. That's
Well,
It's the best part.
Yeah.
You're borrowing fun tonight
Yeah.
from tomorrow.
Sacrificing.
Oh, I like that. I like that. It's like taking out an advance on your
Yeah,
check.
exactly. You still have to pay it back. But
That's
That's
funny.
great. That's
That's
great.
suffer.
If you don't mind, your resistance training
yes,
comment.
please.
I'd love to comment on that. I love that mentioned there, training before you then are going to ingest a lot of food. It makes total sense. Give the body a place to put it. Give the body a reason. To
Empty the
ingest
tank
some
before
more.
you put it
Empty
in.
the tank before you fill it up.
Yes.
Don't spill over. And I love that also. And the next part of that I like to explain to clients as well is not only are your glycogen levels then being restored, because you can deplete glycogen with a light, quick workout. You can burn yourself out a little bit. It doesn't take too long to burn off some stores. But if you're also triggering muscle growth, if you're also actually stimulating protein synthesis, give those burgers somewhere to go too. You need those healthy fats. You need those. So and also that's trying to go with like the right types of meats, things like that. So there's actually going to be a little beneficial. It's still tasty. Still have your burger, make it grass fed, but.
So it's pretty cool that you brought that up, and he's exactly right. Not only can you go enjoy your barbecue, but make that food work for you,
Yeah.
right?
Do you guys feel that when you heavy resistance train though, and because this is just kind of prior experience with like a powerlifting background, I always felt that when I was doing my lower volume but very taxing workouts, heavy deadlifts or whatnot, I was way hungrier than if I was to do like a power and speed workout or something. And now I think obviously, if you're exerting close to 90 to a 1 rep max, your body's definitely, your nervous system's going to be a lot more taxed. And so I would say definitely caution though, if you are doing strength training prior, maybe don't go as overboard like trying to make up for what you're going to eat that night. Do what you were planning to do originally, be consistent, no need to go 2 hours and just blast away at those muscles, because really, you're not gaining much extra. So less is more sometimes, definitely.
Moderation.
A lot of people too say, I need to earn it. Like I need to earn the food, which is not a healthy relationship with food.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I think it's important to distinguish between like a healthy workout and a healthy consumption.
No, it's good you bring that up
Yeah.
too, because we try to harp again and again and again, you need to work on your relationship with food before you can work on any of this other stuff.
That's right.
Because if your relationship with food is unhealthy, it's a linchpin. The entire house of cards is going to fall if that's not in order. So,
But that's not going to be something that you're going to be able to fix right away.
No.
It's going to be a continuous.
just like everything else, it's a journey.
Exactly.
I love that Omar brought that up. I think that's perfect, and that went into that side of conversation, because, again, looking at, I need to work out this much to burn this many calories to eat that many calories. It's actually classified now as a disorder.
Yeah.
Believe it.
It's an eating disorder now.
Workout anorexia or exercise
something.
anorexia.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I apologize. I don't have the
Fitorexia,
name.
we'll call it that.
Along those lines, but it's
But it's very,
the
very
idea
real.
of almost
Real.
bulimia in the sense
Yeah.
of
Using
eat
the
food,
workout
but then
to-
rather than getting rid of it, you get rid of the calories by
Yes.
burning them off.
Same concept.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Just different.
Exactly,
Yeah.
It still stresses your body out just as much, probably.
I say younger athletes that are trying to make weight for their sports, like wrestling, disorders around food, around exercise is actually very rampant in the younger athletic sports around there. So anybody who's watching, if you're in that realm and you're in the healthy mindset already, watch out for your friends. Definitely keep an eye on them, and it's not something that anyone should ever have to deal with alone, but it's also not something that somebody's going to necessarily share with you either. So, you've gotta look out for your people.
Right.
I have a tough time with that. Anyone like high school age or younger, when they're trying to make weight for meets and bouts and things like that, like it's scary. You have kids in sweatsuits trying to drop 10 pounds of water weight in 2 days. Like,
Is it only really with wrestling?
Wrestling's a big one.
Fighting in general.
Fighting,
My girlfriend is a Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jen.
Go Jen.
But in that scene too, MMA, Muay Thai, any type of fighting where there's a weight cutoff, and of course bodybuilding, we deplete down and we try to drop our water weight to get into that weight class.
You've got the two bodybuilders within a short period of time who collapsed on stage from kidney failure.
Yeah.
No kidding. I didn't even hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They were big
now.
prominent
That's
names
crazy.
in the competition world too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a issue with diuretic abuse a lot of the time. And so there are healthy ways. There are very, very healthy ways, as we all share and a lot of what we do, to lose weight in a healthy, effective way and still be able to keep your body healthy. And I think that there's too little of that and too much of, my meet's in a week and I gotta drop 10 pounds. So sorry to go off topic from what we're going here.
No,
but
these are good
it's just
topics.
a caution that I like to really, if you are in a fighting sport and you're high school age or younger, like fight at the next weight class up.
Yeah.
Like, tell your coach that you're good enough to take those bigger kids
Right.
and don't drop that water weight.
What it comes down to, and Scotty's talking about, this relates to pretty much any sport where you're trying to make weight. It comes down to proper prior planning, preventing piss poor performance. That saying. But no, really, if you look at it and you say, all right, I have a show, 3-4 months out, and you're being realistic with yourself, giving yourself plenty of time, be patient, making sure that you don't have to resort to that mentality that you're really trying to squeeze it out and make sure, because at the end of the day, man, we're doing this for fun, and it's like if you're 2 weeks out from your competition and you're trying to cut 10, 15 pounds, you hear fighters cutting like 18 pounds in overnight.
Like just cut your leg off at that point.
And then they're collapsing in the octagon or on stage, and it's sad because it's like if you prepared well ahead of time, gave yourself a realistic amount, you'd probably be good.
I think that brings that back into the barbecue topic. Holiday topic.
I know, really.
So I was going to say, I do want to reel that back in. So next topic that I want to talk about involving this, that's really important, and this is one that I personally have really, really struggled with. I'd like to say or think I'm getting better at it, but I still haven't quite figured it out, so this is going to be a really good test for me, especially this week that you're watching this episode. I'll be neck deep in barbecues, sitting on the beach, and beer pretty much just a hand's reach away. And this is it. Hydration. Hydration. It is a big one. It is one that you should be definitely taking into account, especially in the summer months. Just to kind of real quick launch out some of the benefits from keeping that at the front of your mind. Being well hydrated, it's going to keep your stomach a little bit more full, so it's going to be harder to overeat on your favorite foods. As well, it's going to help offset some of the damage you're going to be doing with the alcoholic beverages that you'll be drinking under the sun. Again, you're going to be sweating a lot if you're outdoors and the sun is beating down, and you may not even realize it because the rate of what's the word I'm looking for here? Somebody help me out. Evaporation. There we go. So the rate at which the sweat that you're sweating is evaporating off your skin, and sometimes you don't even recognize that you're sweating and losing water. So definitely make sure at least on the hour, every hour, you're having a little bit of water, if not a glass. The rule that I try to apply that I still haven't quite nailed down is every 2 beverages that I have, I'll make sure that I then have a strictly water-based
I've
beverage.
yet to
Between
meet
it.
someone that can do that. Have you guys ever met someone that does that?
I've tried it, but I'm not consistent.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
It's hard.
Well, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
But I gotta believe if you're like trying, you're at least gonna end up a little bit more hydrated than you
better
would
off than you would,
otherwise.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'd love to just throw this in there.
Yeah.
Something that I think a couple of you are aware, I'm actually sober myself.
No kidding.
So I don't drink alcohol, and that's something that just kind of came to mind. I'd love to share a little about that. You know, if you're at a barbecue,
Please.
if you're at these events and you're sober or trying to stay sober, that can be really tough.
I am also sober too. So.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
with that in mind, you know, with like you're saying, the beer's only arm's reach away. That can be a dangerous thing, more so than the empty calories for some people.
Yeah.
And keeping that in mind, you know, I'd love to mention if anyone listening or watching is somebody in recovery and you're at an event and there's beer around and there's alcohol around, you know, make sure that you keep your recovery first, your safety first, and if you need to leave. If you need somebody there with you, or if you're going to an event, like again, it's planning. You know how you're gonna feel, know if you're gonna be okay around that, and bring someone with you who is there for support, or have a phone number ready at least to call, talk to, get yourself out of the situation if you need to. So.
Nice. No, I'm really glad that you took the time to bring that up because
It's important.
you know, somebody who's not in that, I never stop to think about that. But I'm sure for you, Victoria, it's probably something that's constantly at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah. It's there.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I'm 6 years plus removed from alcohol and drugs,
That's
but
awesome.
it still is, you know, like if you're, and especially, you know, you might have a hard day, and that hard day might be July 4th, and you might be
For
at
a lot of people
bar.
it is, yeah.
There we go, you know,
Definitely.
and if everything comes down at once, the one thing that we got to keep in mind is that we can't pick up that first drink. So, for everyone else who can and can do that safely, go ahead, drink away. Bottoms up.
I'll
Hold
have
on.
one for you.
Hey, there we go. Have two.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a big guy, 3 or 4.
Have one.
And drink water.
Drink water.
There we go.
Yes.
Stay hydrated. Yes.
That's awesome.
So
So,
thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to.
No, appreciate that too. It's really good.
What's like the first thing that, just to go back to that real quick, because I think this can be very valuable for you guys that want to implement something on the spot. What is the first thing that pops in your mind when you're trying to, remain sober and abstain from that drink? Is it that you kind of see the pros and cons list, or is it the amount of time that you've already abstained, or is it the social pressure of everyone knows you're sober?
Wow.
Like, there's a lot of
Oh,
factors,
man.
I feel like, kind of put you on the spot.
Yeah.
No,
No, that's
I
good, yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And for somebody not in recovery, you just nailed so many.
I
I was like,
How do you
whoa,
know?
dude, no.
Thank you.
No, that's so
Okay.
funny. So yeah, the thought of I have so much time already, I don't want to give that away. And when you pick up and the time's out the window, it's a scary thought. It's also something that you don't want to let take you down. If you slip and you do have that first drink, that doesn't mean, well, everything's done, go off and running.
Black or white
Start
thinking.
your day right back over. Talk to somebody, clear it up, grab yourself a silver coin for those who know what that means, and you're good to go. Like, it's one day at a time. But to answer your question, things that come to mind. One thing that I work on is it's called playing the tape through. So in your mind, when an addict or alcoholic generally is triggered to use, drink, anything like that, our brains have a way of forgetting the bad stuff. Forgetting the pain, the struggle, the detox, the shakes, the puking, everything. It ain't pretty. But if you remember that, instead of remembering the high, the buzz, the good times. So if I look at a beer and I say, oh man, that time on the beach, the sunset and the campfire was just starting and I was sipping a beer and that was so great, I'm going to drink that beer. But if I think about that beer and I think about that first beer is going to allow me to then say, well, I'm not sober anymore, so I may as well have some more. Have
One
that
last
hard
time.
alcohol.
Right.
Go find that drug of choice, and remember where that's going to lead you to that very, very rock bottom that you dug yourself out of and you worked so hard to get away from. And that's what I try to, frankly, to be completely honest, I think about my funeral. And I think about my family's not even going to show up if I do what I would do to them if I went back down that road.
Wow.
Sorry to be really
Whatever
morbid on that,
you
but
know,
you know what?
it is, it's
I need
intense.
that to keep
It
me
is
away from
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's crazy. Thank you for going deep there, man. That's awesome that you shared that.
Me?
Absolutely. I'd love to get Victoria
So
to-
I'm just about actually 7 months sober as of yesterday.
Congratulations.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. So finally,
Seriously,
it takes.
yeah.
I mean, so to me right now it's just like not an option. That's it. When I see something, it's just not for me. I know like where it goes, and I don't want to be that, and that's it. So.
But you still put yourself in a situation where it's around you, right?
Yes, I've decided that I don't want it to be stopping me from doing anything else.
Mhm.
So far so good. I have my support.
Alright.
But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep, just not an option.
So you almost
Doesn't
empower
work.
yourself by the fact that like there is alcohol around you, but you have the ability to say
Yeah, I
no.
guess in a way.
So it like strengthens your willpower.
Yeah, I don't like go seeking places like that, but I don't avoid
Yeah.
them.
So if you're invited
That's
to a
good.
party with your friends, you're gonna go and hang out, but
Yes.
you abstain.
Yep, and they know, so that's it. It's
That's
just
Perfect.
is.
No, and that's good too. And you've got
Yeah.
a support system where they're not going to be like, hey, have a beer.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, just
Exactly.
one,
Yeah,
just one.
Yeah,
You'll be
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
That's not my
awful.
friend.
That's the wrong friend. Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Need
I
that
really love this. This was awesome. But again, let's kind of
Sorry,
Back.
back in.
Yep.
So
That's funny.
I'm sorry, can I say one quick thing?
Yep, please.
This is just important that I think people need to know this. If you're going to a party and you don't know how to tell people you can't drink, you're allergic to alcohol.
Yes.
An allergy is
That's
Party
my
trick.
thing.
An allergy is defined as an
That I think of,
abnormal
yeah.
reaction to a substance. I have a very abnormal reaction to alcohol. I have an allergy. Tell people you're allergic. They won't force you.
Yeah, it just doesn't
There you
work.
go.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
body, so.
There we
Yeah.
go.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and if you just go with that, the medical, people aren't going to force it. If you don't want to go into the details, like if you'd rather not, put that out there. Thank you. And back to
Nice.
topic.
All right. So next big tip strategy when you're faced with these foods, faced with these holidays, portion control. Now this is a little bit of an encompassing topic because there's a lot of little offshoots of this. The one that I want to start with is if you know you're going to be heading somewhere where there's A, going to be a lot of food, B, a lot of really tasty food, and C, probably cooked in a lot of butter and other things that you shouldn't be having copious amounts of, here's what you do. Have yourself a small meal that is very nutrient dense before you head off to that event. Now, I say small meal because you do want to leave some room to enjoy your favorite foods while you're there, but to enjoy them in, again, a moderate amount. So if you take that meal in beforehand, you're going to take up a little bit of space, so your brain isn't going to be going on that hunger trigger like, oh my gosh, I'm empty, feed me, feed me, feed me. And that'll kind of help keep you in a better mindset because, well, like Snickers says, you're not yourself when you're hungry.
No, I'm not.
So-
Another
Yeah.
thing, oh, I get hangry. It's actually, I think I have a problem. Boy, it's really bad.
I have a shirt about it.
Yeah, I need that.
So-
So wait, on the lines of the portion control,
Yes.
plate size.
Yes.
Plate size.
Plate
So
size.
usually
It's
at
it's your mind.
exactly the visual. So if you, of course, have the same amount of food, you put it on a big plate versus a small plate, it's going to look like less amount of food on a bigger plate.
It works really well.
Yes, it does work really well. I forgot what else I was going to say. But plate size.
Yeah. So for instance, get a smaller plate,
Yep.
Yeah.
serve yourself your food,
Mhm.
and then moving into tip 3 from there, don't stand around the food.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Take your food, go off somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that way, once you've finished your food, you have to go all the way back over to the food to get more food. So chances are, it actually stems a lot into one of the other big tips that I give people just as far as snacking is concerned is never eat from the packaging. Serve yourself,
Yeah, that's a good
Great one.
go
Yeah.
back, eat it, because then,
I
you're
eat
just,
the whole package.
Yeah.
oh yeah. I mean, a sleeve of Oreos, done, gone.
And don't do another activity while you're eating. This was
Yeah.
honestly one of
Yeah.
the breakthroughs for me. I would intermittent fast all day, and I still do. And it's crazy that you touched upon that because before you're going out and you're fasted all day, like it's gonna be very easy to overeat, and especially if you're around all this copious amounts of delicious cultural food. It's so easy to, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and next thing you know, your plate is boom.
Yeah.
So eat that small micronutrient dense meal. Make sure you hydrate extra, and make sure you're not like on your phone, whatever, while you're eating. You're actually present, enjoying that meal, tasting every little bit, and listening to your stomach. Because more often than not, you're probably putting more on your plate than you should be, and probably upsetting your GI tract a little bit.
Yeah, that's a huge tip.
And along those lines, I would fill up on veggies and protein first. That's what I do.
Definitely.
I can just stack with veggies and protein, and then I'll go back and I'll obviously probably
grab
be
the
more hungry,
healthiest
but
stuff first.
yes, if you can.
I always I say just
Veggies.
SS. Start with salad.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Start with salad.
Go up
Yeah.
to where the food is. Grab yourself a plate. Grab yourself salad. Go sit down. Eat it. Have a bottle of water, glass of water, whatever you got.
So you hydrate.
Yeah.
Yep. And then wait 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And then go get your food.
Yes.
Careful with the dressings.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dressing.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
croutons.
Or the additions like the cranberry.
Yes,
cheese,
walnuts.
yes.
Feta.
Oh, you're right.
All the added.
Nuts.
Yep.
So you used a word in there. Wait.
Mhm.
So there's a really important reason why you should wait a little bit in between serving yourself food and eating. So once you've put the food in your mouth, you've chewed it, you've swallowed it, it's going to take it a while to travel to its destination. And then once it's there, it's going to take a little bit for your body to signal to your brain that, hey, I've got food, I'm good now. So, not just around the holidays, but in general, that's a really, really good tip for, do I need seconds? Wait 5 minutes. Then ask yourself again, do I need seconds? 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be like, I'm actually satisfied, I'm okay. And that's a really good way to help keep yourself from overeating.
Absolutely.
It's kind of touching on the figuring out cravings versus hunger.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
huge.
huge.
Yeah.
And that
Because
boils
there's-
down to
that's
the
a tough one.
relationship
That
with
is
food.
tough.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a
There's
tough
the
one.
mental
Yeah.
hunger, and then there's the actual physiological hunger. And oftentimes, whether you're eating for pleasure or comfort, or you're eating just out of boredom and you don't have anything to do, in that case, hopefully find some friends, do something. But definitely occupy yourself with something other than food. Food is for function, and yes, it is for enjoyment as well. The culture we live in today, food is the thing that brings people together. So don't avoid it, but definitely understand that, it's supposed to serve a purpose. And
Food is fuel.
right.
And I like the idea of, I think that one of you touched on it a little bit, but make your plate, and you have your plate there, small plate size, and you don't need to clear your plate off, but if you do, or whenever you're done eating, you're done eating. You're finished with your meal. Now go do another activity. Don't sit around and wait and maybe go up and grab another plate or 2 or 3. And it's kind of the same with sitting around the food and everything. But when I like to tell people, when you finish eating, okay, see what games are going on. Go
Yeah.
jump
Play some
into them,
cornhole.
Yeah.
Don't be a sweet solicitor. Damn it, I really wanted that to be clever, and everyone was just
What's
that?
Is that
Sweet,
right?
just lingering around the sweets.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
let me try this
I feel
chocolate.
like that was
Come
way more
on.
complex than me, to be
Anyone? No?
I got it, but I was like, there must be more.
Okay.
I think that would kind of
scavenger, I like
teamwork,
that.
teamwork.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just not gonna be a comedian. That's not my profession.
We're all just like,
It's funny you bring that up. One of the other big tips, I know, unfortunately we're getting a little bit away from it, but this is another good tip around food that isn't necessarily with holidays, but I call this raccooning.
oh yeah.
I used to be a big offender of this. I've had clients that are big offenders of this.
That's
You
a
get
tough
up,
one.
11 p.m. at night, you walk into the kitchen, you open the refrigerator, you're not necessarily hungry, it's just late, everybody else is in bed, and you're like, I could go for a snack right now. And 10 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches later, and you are one happy raccoon.
Oh my
But of
God.
course, you have just literally shot yourself
And you
in the
wake up
foot.
the next morning and you're just like, oh, why did I do
Why?
that?
And
Like a
you're
food
still
hangover.
hungry when you
Rappers
wake up.
From what?
So
So you call that raccoon?
Raccoonings.
I call that nightly routine, which is interesting.
I do that every night, but okay.
I frankly, I do actually wake up often in the middle of the night and I eat, but my calorie intake is quite
I was
high.
gonna say,
Exactly.
from the average
So,
person, you're a little bit.
I want to touch, some people, like, you're actually gonna need some of that intake. Now, generally, I don't need that food in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But if you're stimulating muscle growth, if you have that going, that's where, again, a relationship with food comes in. Like,
So, building off of that,
yes.
I used to be pretty bad with that, not to mention, it was a bad habit first when I was bigger, but as I've gotten more and more into fitness, built a lot more muscle, now it became something like, oh yeah, just trying to continue to fuel that growth, like what you were saying. I found that if you have a little bit more of your fats later at night and slow digesting proteins like casein, which is egg protein,
Holds you through the
it
night.
does
Yeah.
tend to help you not wake up in the middle of the night feeling hungry.
There you go.
But, again, what works for you works for you.
Mhm.
Different strokes for different folks.
I was like 100%. That's my nightly routine, but that's not my goal. That's not the good way to go. I should be getting a better night's sleep without waking up and all that. So,
Yeah.
just to be clear,
Don't do it.
Clarify
do
what
as
you
I
meant.
say, not as I do.
So we are coming up on a lengthy bit of time right here.
Plus,
so,
the Bruins are on in an hour, so.
Yes. We definitely, obviously everybody who's
Oh, wait,
watching this,
never mind.
Don't tell us
you
what
already
happened.
know.
Don't tell us the ending.
Whoop.
Whoa.
Oh.
Carried away.
I would
So-
like to say that's all, folks, after that.
But no, what I want to do real quick
yeah.
is kind of go around. Does anybody else have any really good tips that you've utilized to help you get through holidays surrounded by food? Things that we haven't necessarily talked about. I'm going to kind of let everybody brainstorm for a second. If we don't got anything, we're going to open up to questions from the audience. We're going to open up to, it's not a live show, so you guys can't ask your questions. But you can leave us comments and ask questions, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as we can to answer those. So,
Do we want to go in order or?
yeah,
Away from
and it's
All
perfectly okay if you got nothing.
So just going back to kind of that salad dressing thing, minimal condiments, just don't load your stuff up if you're really trying to do some healthy cookout stuff.
So for me, what I personally do is like Dan said, I have a little meal prior, and then I always bring my water bottle with me, always. And then I just have veggies first thing. Those are my 3 things.
Nice. A good one for me, because I like my alcohols while I'm having fun. So what I tend to do is if I'm drinking something that's a little bit of a harder liquor, I will mix it with seltzer water, just straight up fizzy water.
Yeah.
So you're going to dilute it a little bit, going to have a little bit of water for that hydration, and you're going to not minimize, but you're going to cut out some of the calories. So as long as you don't make up for that by then having more, you'll still be okay.
So vodka and seltzer?
Yeah. Except not vodka, whiskey.
Tequila? Oh,
Whiskey and seltzer?
You can cut your whiskey with ice and
I
water.
liked you, Dan. I'm just kidding.
Listen, vodka and I got into a huge fight my freshman year of college, and we have
No,
not
I know,
spoken
some
since.
people, I know.
Sounds,
Didn't mean to
sounds
make it
about
right.
right.
So
Whiskey?
mine would probably be don't go overboard trying to do anything extra because you're just creating that mental dysfunction with food where you feel like because you're going off track, which you really aren't, because don't view it as a diet, it's a lifestyle, right? You want to keep that healthy relationship. It's okay to have fun, to enjoy the pleasures of food. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Balance.
like that. I'm gonna jump a little away from where we've been talking about to include something a little bit different for my final piece here. Prior to managing the gym here at All Access Fitness, I was a vitamin shop store manager. And if you're somebody with food sensitivities, when you're going to a cookout, you may not know what they're using in there. The barbecue sauce might not be gluten-free. There might be cheese snuck in if you're trying to stay away from dairy, if you're lactose intolerant. So I like to myself, I have some digestive issues, as you guys are aware, and I always bring my digestive enzymes. Betaine HCl is an excellent product for breaking down food correctly and helping with digestion. And then actually activated charcoal.
Oh.
Now that's actually a tip for you drinkers as well. You have a little
I've heard that.
activated
Yeah.
charcoal
I've heard that, yeah.
before and then a little bit during, like a little bit
Mhm.
later when you drink. A couple capsules, or they have powder forms. They've got actually drinks now too, I believe. But that's gonna actually absorb out a lot of the.
I'll bring some of that with me to New Hampshire.
There we go. There we go.
Hamster.
You're party
New
ready.
Hampshire.
So, just to kind of offer a recap for everybody, the big issues and topics that we discussed today. So, plate size, portion size, hydration, step away from the food, wait before serving yourself again.
Don't
Be
hang around the
mindful.
food.
Don't hang around the food. Be
Resistance
mindful.
training.
Resistance training
Oh, yeah.
prior
Good
to
advice.
events. I think that
That's pretty much
it
it.
covers just about all the big topics, right?
And
Now,
overall,
you did want to talk about like Ramadan for those of you who fast.
Thank you for bringing that up. I almost forgot. So, Omar here is going to give us a little bit of his expertise spin, because this is something that he does participate in, he does celebrate. So I'd like to let the floor over to him for a bit to talk about the fasting holiday.
So, for those of you who aren't familiar, Ramadan is a month of fasting from sunrise to sunset. Your feeding window is anywhere other than that time. And essentially, it's a month of, gratitude, and really it's really an honorable holiday, because what you get to do is you get to put yourself in the less fortunate people's shoes, and you also get to really kind of take a moment to reflect and see how much you really have, and how food is readily available, but you are suppressing the biological need to go and grab the food in your fridge, and so you're building. Yeah, exactly. So you're building that willpower. Now, at the end of those 30 days, you basically indulge in this holiday called Eid, which it actually comes down to giving back. So on those days, we obviously go and visit family and have these big, ornate, tables of just every kind of Arabic food, or whatever kind of food you want.
you invite me.
It already happened. But
You missed it.
you missed
Over and
it.
done.
So, what I try to do on that day, and even during the month of Ramadan at night, is I ensure that I'm hydrating, basically putting to use everything you guys said, or as to the best of my ability, to ensure that I'm not kind of spilling over and just gorging at night, because that always just results in something that you regret the next day. And if you have ever had any sort of kind of dysfunctional relationship with food, as I have in the past, throughout my bodybuilding adventures, dieting down for a show, or getting used to the fasted lifestyle, because it definitely takes work to build that right relationship, like you guys said earlier. It really does boil down to viewing food as a function rather than what's the word I'm looking for?
Pleasure.
Rather than a pleasure, but yeah, I mean, because
More
food
than
is,
just a
I don't
pleasure.
want to be like that dude and say oh, you shouldn't have,
Shouldn't enjoy what you
Just
shouldn't
a
enjoy,
pleasure, yeah.
because
Yeah.
that would be kind of defeating.
Well, there's a reason why gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins. I mean, obviously gluttony doesn't just apply to food, it's excess of anything, but, when you, that is also an unhealthy relationship with food. Gorging, being gluttonous with it,
With anything.
not recognizing it as its fuel, because it's okay to enjoy fuel.
Right.
It is okay to enjoy your fuel.
But make sure that if you are going through that, and next year when Ramadan comes around, you can identify whether your habits are, whether you're binging and purging, as I have done in the past, actually, due to being someone who is, a big advocate of intermittent fasting. And then I started to become more self-aware and identify it for what it was. I didn't want to believe that I had this eating disorder. But when I actually identified it, and I was like, this is not healthy, it's not good for my gut, not good for my brain, it actually kind of creates some social separation, because it's like you don't want to binge eat when your friends are around, because it's kind of like weird or embarrassing, to the point where you're eating yourself to literal like you're exploding.
You can rupture your
You
stomach
can literally,
from that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's far more common than people ever give it credit for. Between myself personally, clients of mine, fitness professionals across the board, bodybuilders especially. I mean, it's all over the place, and it's not talked about often. So anyone struggling with that, I would say,
reach out.
you're definitely not alone in that. Reach out to somebody, like get some help with it. Any of us,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you guys. But yeah, thank you for letting me open up about that.
No, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I think that what you were going for there, and that's something that I talk to people about with intermittent fasting, and so plays over to Ramadan, is it's really easy for that to throw you into that bad relationship with food because you're completely abstaining, and then you're filling in a shorter window, so it's pushing you toward a binge eating mentality. Done correctly, it can be great, and there are actually some great benefits to fasting. And I generally prefer actually longer fasts and then a regular diet otherwise. But there are some benefits, but it's you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
And so
Like
if
break
you're
your
practicing
fast,
holiday,
right.
same thing. Don't let yourself go into a binge mode at the end of the day.
Like break your fast with, you can have like a protein shake, or like I broke it with, a little veggies, a little fruit, and then had my protein. When you're breaking a fast, make sure that you're not, obviously you don't want to ingest too much food at once because your stomach is very, very sensitive.
A little bit digesting.
Right, exactly. So little micronutrients, little water, and then you can have your bigger meal after that.
So Omar, would you say that fasting helped you distinguish between like a craving and actual hunger?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my God. One thing I think fasting is very powerful for is definitely understanding mental hunger and what is actually real hunger. Definitely. And that's why I'm careful to prescribe it to clients or friends and stuff, because it can spiral, like Scotty said, into other things. But if you're very honest with yourself and you have accountability partners, it can be an amazing thing.
The craving thing, one thing to mention that I don't think we brought up, little piece of information here, cravings generally last less than 20 minutes.
Yep.
So
Good to know.
if you're at one of these events, at a party or something like that, and you look at the dessert table, chances are you're gonna feel starving all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Even though you just ate all that turkey
Brain's
and stuffing
being
and
triggered.
whatever,
I used to
or
say when I was
barbecue.
younger, like I have a little stomach for my dessert.
Yes.
Like my regular
Right.
stomach is full, but my dessert
Oh,
stomach
geez.
is empty.
My two brothers and I have shelves.
Yes, yeah.
My dessert shelf is huge, by the way.
I just have a hollow
That's awesome.
leg.
There we go. I like that one.
That's good.
Yeah, so if you have these cravings come up and the sweets are right in front of you, give yourself 20 minutes.
Wait.
That's
like you
good.
said.
Yeah. Wait.
Wait.
Yep.
There we go.
Love it. All right.
Nice.
So you guys think we're pretty good on the topic?
Yeah.
I would say so.
Wonderful.
Audience, any questions you guys want to throw out? Please don't feel pressured at all, but if you have questions, now is a great time to ask them. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna ask this for anybody who is traveling during this time and doesn't have access to their normal gym equipment or their normal routine. Two parts, can you do enough resistance training without, big heavy weights or a gym? And if yes, what does that look like?
Resounding yes, absolutely. Now, I sometimes like to travel with my TRX
I was
cables.
gonna say suspension.
I sometimes like to travel with my bands.
And
But if I don't travel with either of those handy dandy tools, I have an entire body to use.
And maybe another one if you have a friend or a
Yeah.
Oh,
That is very
Yeah.
true.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like a jail workout.
But
I've never been. Never been.
So-
Scared towels.
so a little bit more specifically to your question is a good, well-rounded body weight resistance exercise will be perfect. Get those push-ups in to work your pressing muscles. Move them into pikes if you want to work the shoulders a little bit. Squats, great for the legs. Good mornings, great for the hamstrings. Lots of core work. I mean, if you're ever at a loss for body weight exercises that you can do, plan, prepare, have a body weight routine in mind, ready to go before you even travel. If you're not sure what exercises to use, there's plenty of resources out there online. You can piece together programs from many different places. Not going to plug any of our competitors, but you can also directly message us and you can get programs made for you for a fee. But
I'll go. So you don't have to use necessarily a dumbbell. You can replace it with, say, a gallon of water, or just use the equipment around you and just
Use your mind.
you just gave, you reminded me of something amazing. So this time last year, when I was up in Moultonborough, I wanted to get a shoulder workout in, and I was helping out the host by digging a little bit on the beach to get one of the benches out that we were replacing. And it was great, got a little bit of a back workout, a leg workout. I was like, I really want to work my shoulders. Well, I was holding a shovel, so I just held it out in front of me and started doing some rotations, held it out to the side, did some rotations, was pressing that shovel up over my head. I got a really great shoulder workout right there on the beach with a shovel.
got like some stability training in there too.
I was actually going to mention on that. So going places, if you bring one thing that I like a lot, doorway pull-up bars.
Yes.
You can hook it under the doorway. It generally won't do any damage to the doors. You're not going to have to worry about that. Use it correctly, don't fall. But you can do that, and then depending on the one that you have, make sure it's good enough and it's stable, but you can hook TRX right to it or any suspension training. Frankly, if you have Kevlar straps, just a long Kevlar strap, you can loop that and tie it, and you're good to go.
That's true.
Love that. And then what I like to mention also is if you need more resistance, go unilateral. So on any exercise that you usually use a weight with, do it without a weight, but only do one side at a time. Works for a lot of things. Some things that won't apply for, but can definitely be used in a lot of cases to get a heavy enough or intense enough workout without the weights.
Another way you can increase the intensity too is just time under tension.
Slow it down.
There you go.
King Tut, you will always be king.
Yes.
That was
Or-
good. That was good. That was better.
You can
I don't think I made that up.
I don't even know what that
But
is.
it's definitely like a great time to change things up, go kayaking, go biking around the city you're traveling to, or whatever. Integrate it into part of your actual experience while traveling.
Love that.
I was just gonna say use that time for mobility, because
That's good
everybody
too.
needs mobility, so
Yeah.
you can just use that time for that.
And if you think you're doing enough mobility
You're
work,
not.
chances are you should still be doing more.
Yes. One little side mention. I traveled to Italy years ago, and I was overhead pressing my sister.
There you go.
So that's also an option.
So remember, if you have your sister with you and you can press her over your head, I don't know, have you ever tried?
Sister size. is the
I've
question.
squatted you before. I'm just kidding, I've never.
Oh, but you can actually, if you're with somebody.
But I
if you're,
could, no, yeah, it's
I
like
know a lot of
legit.
times, you go down to the beach, have have your
Just,
loved
like,
one
wrap
hop
around
on your
your neck.
back, do some squats.
your
Well,
dog.
even like tricep
Use your
extensions.
dog.
Dogs and
Yeah.
hip thrusts.
You know, actually, acro yoga. If you guys have never looked into that, if you're with your partner traveling, that's an excellent, really fun thing you can kind of get into. You got two bodies and you're using your weight and resistance against each other. It's a cool thing to try out.
That's all nice. Thank you for that question. That definitely sparked some really good conversation. Anything else that you guys are curious about before we wrap up our show?
I want to know how you guys would supplement electrolytes into all this. Because we talked a lot about hydration, we talked a lot about alcohol, and more often than not, people are drinking Pedialyte and like substances during this time.
For what?
To prevent the hangover.
For what? Yeah.
So,
To counteract the dehydration, because as far as I know, water and trying to counteract alcohol, the dehydration of alcohol, isn't always sufficient enough. You need something else on top of that. So,
you are correct.
What do you guys think?
So it's funny. One of the things you said was Pedialyte. The hosts of the place that we go to every year in New Hampshire tend to have Pedialyte on hand and readily available for those mornings you wake up and you're not feeling too good.
So I think because this is probably the general population, we should touch upon what electrolytes are. Like, why are they important? Why do we need them for hydration?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
You know?
Do you want to tackle this one, Scott?
Sure.
Yeah.
So electrolytes are some of your micronutrients. They're minerals in the body that actually help to balance your water in your body, basically. And they're also used for muscle contraction, a number of other things in the body. They include sodium, potassium, magnesium, chlorine, phosphorus, chloride, yeah, those ones. One thing that I always find a little bit funny actually is a lot of time when you're partying, drinking, you know, like you're eating some food, and that food generally has a lot of sodium. It depends, you know, depends on what you're doing, where you're at. But if you're having some hot wings, you're getting thousands of milligrams of sodium in there. A lot of times, though, you're not getting the potassium levels, definitely not the magnesium generally that you need. So I think electrolytes are a great thing to go for. Pedialyte in the evening, even before you go to bed, if you can. But depends how many you have. You're gonna remember that.
So is there a difference between Pedialyte and Gatorade electrolyte-wise, though?
Well, I mean, all electrolytes
Yeah.
are electrolytes are
I haven't
electrolytes are
compared them,
electrolytes,
so.
but you know,
They must-
Pedialyte, you're gonna get a higher profile
Right.
than Gatorade.
Yeah.
I mean, Gatorade's more designed for you're replacing the things that you're utilizing while sweating.
Yeah.
But they also make electrolyte tablets
Yeah,
that you can
I've
drop in a
seen
water
those
bottle.
too.
Back when I was doing
Wow.
Spartan races competitively,
I actually have it in my
I would actually dissolve electrolyte tabs in my water pack. So that way
Yeah, nice.
I had, you know, I was replacing it because
Yeah, that's great.
I could tell you, you get to, no, actually, honestly,
No?
because I would run so much
True.
water
It's
through
always
it,
cycling.
it was almost always self-cleaning. But, you know, you get to like mile 17, you have depleted anything you started with. So if you're not, you know, having gummies that have electrolytes in them, or, you know, doing something with your water, or some kind of, you know, actually peanuts saved my life at the top of Mount Killington.
Interesting.
I was doing one of my beast races, and when I got to the top of the death crawl, I had to sit down and question every decision I had ever made in my life. And one of the race attendants happened to be up there, and she was eating a bag of peanuts. And she saw me and saw how awful I looked and was like, "You need these more than I do." Just a little handful of peanuts, and all of a sudden, my mood improved. I could see clearer, just everything just perked right up. I was like, all right, I got this. And I mean, yeah, it was another miserable 6 miles to the finish, but I did. It really was that little boost that I needed. So with that in mind, having something to replace that absolutely is a great thing to have. Pedialyte on hand, Gatorade's a decent option, or having some kind of tab you can dissolve in water. You know, have it before you start, have it halfway through, have it at the end of your night. Just trying to keep everything kind of all balanced out is a good way to tackle it.
I would just mention too, it's another thing that just comes into planning. You know, if you're gonna be
That
going,
P word again.
Absolutely. You know, try to. It depends on the person too. Some people aren't gonna
Planners.
know where their electrolyte levels are at all, whether they've had a lot of sodium or potassium during the day. No idea. There is one, the tablets are good. I do utilize a liquid. It's called Trace Minerals liquid. And it's been a lifesaver for me, especially when I've had issues cramping and stuff like that. But if you're dealing with drinking and electrolyte depletion from that, it's one of the best ways. It's the ionic form, so they absorb right into the body in smaller amounts, but very readily. You know, I use it myself. My girlfriend uses it as a fighter when she's getting dehydrated at all, and it's worked great. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to message me. I can share some info.
All right. And yeah, if you guys are curious, we've got all of our names situated below us. So if you want to ask anyone an individual question, those are all our Instagram handles right there. So slide into that DM, as the kids say.
The kids.
The kids.
Any other
Us kids.
questions out there? All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching the show today. Thank you guys at home for tuning in and checking this out. If you're listening, thank you so much. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You know, help us help more people by getting us seen.
Yes.
We do have something a little bit special that we want to finish this episode on, though. So Omar here has been an integral part of the All Access team, and he has been instrumental in helping this old man learn a little bit more about social media than he used to know.
You're gonna be okay, kid.
So Omar is going to be leaving us. Actually, by the time you guys watch this episode, he will have already been gone a day or two. He is off on a whirlwind adventure to Salt Lake City, Utah. He's going to go make a name for himself out there, and Be the beast from the east and the west.
Honestly,
Nice.
I can't say enough about, especially these two guys here at my time, just building memories and learning so much at this gym. And you know, I've had a lot of fuck ups. Sorry to put that out there, but yeah, I've had a lot of those.
I can edit that out.
And I've had a lot of things that I've learned, and it definitely will be something I will take forward, and won't lose touch with you guys, definitely.
Good.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate
think you're
that.
gonna kill it down there as the Massachusetts mass monster among the Mormons.
Whoa.
Ooh, all the end.
We are a literal.
Ooh.
All right. But
Best
thank
of
you,
luck.
Omar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. This has been an awesome third episode. And yeah, that's our show.
Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Please,
it.
anytime, all the time, every time.
Excellent.
Right on.